We are live.
Awesome.
Oh, yes, we're just going to wait here for a few seconds and see who shows up. Absolutely. Um, we're just going to wait a few more seconds here, and we're just going to go ahead and get started. Okay, and all right, advocates for the spirit. All right, 1 minute daily boost. Thank you guys for joining. Glad to see you guys. Yeah, we have Bethany Tapp here with us today. I've been observing her for a while. She's doing some amazing work out there, and she's here to talk about the work that she does. An advocate for spirit. Oh, okay. What we want to do is talk about Bethany's story and the amazing work that she's doing here on Substack. And we have a mutual acquaintance in Khadijah Jones, okay? And so with that being said, I'm like, oh, I know you top notch, okay? You dealing with Khadijah, okay? So I'm like, yes. And I'm all about uh genuine connections and collaborations. Hello, Michael. Hello, Keegan. So we're gonna get started here today. And Bethany, why don't you introduce everybody to you, talk about your journey and how you came to Substack.
Okay. Hey, everyone. I'm Bethany Tapp. I have been on Substack since about, I think, the end of June, early July-ish is when I started here. So a little bit about me. I've managed a variety of different businesses, and so I actually have a ton of really fantastic startup experience. I learned what works, what doesn't, what definitely does not work at all. And prior to actually COVID happening, I was managing a startup company, and no joke, true story, I still have the timesheets to back this up. I was working a minimum of 88 hours a week for 5 months straight, 88 hours a week. And like I said, I still have the timesheets to back that up. And anyway, long story short, I started passing out. I was barely functioning, and I wound up in the hospital. And I actually called a mentor of mine because I had passed out in my bedroom. And I woke up 3 hours later after I'd passed out, and I was like, I was supposed to be to work early for a meeting with the owner of the company. This was a Friday morning. I pass out, wake up 3 hours later. Clearly, I missed the meeting, and I was like, oh no, what am I gonna do? So I actually called an older woman that was a mentor of mine, and I wanted her opinion about the situation. She's like, there's no way in hell you're going to work. She's like, you got to get yourself to the ER. And I'm thinking, because I lived by myself at the time, like, how am I going to get myself from here? I'm on the floor of my apartment to the ER. And anyway, long story short, I get there and they admit me right away. They're telling me, like, your body's shutting down. Like, you're going to have to end this job. They literally told me that I had to end the job while I was at the hospital. So I had to send an email, and that was that. I had no job. I was tied to nothing, right? All of the 88-hour weeks were literally pointless at that time for me. And when I was finally released from the hospital, I was then put on bed rest for 5 weeks. So I could not work, had like my whole entire life was, came to a complete halt. And during that time, I had people, again, at that point, I would say in like my career life, I had built up a fantastic network of like just a really, really fantastic network of people. And so that was one thing I had going for me was, yes, I didn't have a job, I didn't have income, but guess what? I had a great network of people. And during that time, actually, I like had a lot of people reach out to me, and they're like, "What's going on? We haven't seen you in a while. What are you doing? Is everything okay?" All this stuff. And I had to share that, hey, like, I can't do anything right now because I have to get my health back, essentially. And so, while all these people were reaching out to me, I actually kind of extended the bed rest period because my body was still not like, it was that bent out of shape, if you will. It was at a very, very low point. Um, so anyway, during that time, like I said, I had some people that were like, "Oh, you got to just start your own thing. Like you have tons of great experience. Like, you know, don't let anyone else take advantage of your talents, your hard work. You're fantastic." Like they're like, "No more. Like this is your chance to start your own thing." So, I actually started my own business after that. Again, it was a very, very awful situation. I really don't want anyone to deal with what I was dealing with. Like it was terrible. Well, yes, it was a huge like ego hit. It was just like I've always been one to be pretty in tune with like my health and stuff, and like I clearly let things go too far. So now I have turned that really, really awful again. Literally, my entire life came to a halt. I was stuck in bed for, started with a 5-week bed rest period. It was extended to 8 weeks of bed rest. Um, and from that, really, again, major low point, I then went on and have since started my own business. And now I'm primarily working with business owners and other career driven people to help them stay healthy and fit so they never reach the stage of burnout that I did, nor do I ever want to hear that someone that I'm working with or potentially working with ended up in the hospital because they overworked themselves at a job. A job is here today, gone tomorrow. And that's why I think if you have the trait of, have the trait of being an entrepreneurial spirit, it can really like be a lifeline again, especially if your health has gone downhill. B, you just feel that, time after time people are taking advantage of you. And C, if you, again, have the talent, the work ethic, and you have a great network, I honestly want to say that, like, you can really do about anything that you want to do. It's all about getting an idea, being able to market that idea, getting people on board with your idea, and ultimately being able to solve a problem that someone else has and doing it in a way that is memorable and makes people want to come back for more. So,
I I truly love that. Now, talk to me about when you look back over the course of your life. What what was your thinking? How you could even humanly possibly work 88 hours a week?
well, I still don't honestly know how I was doing. I mean, I'll be honest. Like, I lost a ton of friends. Like, my family was like, "What is going on?" Like, this sounds really bad, but, like, I was literally on Friday nights, I was literally going to, like, the only sit-down restaurant I could find at, like, 11 p.m. So there was an hour before the kitchen closed. And, like, I was sitting there by myself with, like, my laptop out and my phone, just blowing up with stuff and trying to work 11 p.m. on a Friday night. And here's what I wanna say. You can definitely build income for yourself, but you never have to do it at that expense of your health. And also, I think if I definitely just want to say this because I've been able to keep my own business going now for almost 5 years. And I just want to say this. While you have to think about how you are going to support your lifestyle and everything, it is definitely, definitely possible that you can still make a living doing your own thing without letting your health suffer. And no one needs to be working 88 hours a week. I repeat, no one needs to be working 88 hours a week. Yes, of course, in my own business, I still have like really busy times of year and different projects I'm trying to get off the ground. So again, I might have some weeks where, I'm working quite a bit, but it's never like where I feel like I'm, how do I want to say this? Like completely like killing myself, if you will. Um, Yeah, I do also want to say this. Well, yes, I'm sure you understand this too, Margaret. Like, yes, there is challenges when you want to live the entrepreneurial way versus the job way of life because you're used to having someone constantly telling you what to do. And now if you're going down the road of being an entrepreneur, it's up to you. You have to make every decision, yes, no, you know, figure out all the different things you're saying no to and only saying yes to very few things that make sense. And I think a lot of people, if again, I'm not saying one way is better than another way, but I think a lot of people kind of, never have to necessarily stand up for themselves or realize they can make decision after decision after decision. And I think that's where a lot of people, and honestly, I think this too, even in, you can talk about in really big companies, even in government, where it's like, oh, I'm not going to say anything. I have to wait until he says something. Or, no, you can't say this. You can't say that in an email. That's like going to, completely mess up the entire organization. Where it's like, no, if you see a problem or someone isn't happy, how are you going to change that viewpoint of someone? Or if someone needs to go, hey, someone needs to go. We're not just going to let them stay here for the next 3 years and continue, just dilly-dallying around and giving him a free pass if it's not working, the way that he's conducting himself, conducting his projects, whatever it is, his mission, whatever it is. And I will say this. So I worked for startup business owners that were women and also men. And I will say this. I I ran into similar situations with both. So, I'm not saying that one is a better person, a better owner for a company or multiple owners. I'm not saying that. But like I said, I managed 3 different startup companies and there were numerous, I mean, I could literally probably write a book at this point in time.
You
um,
should.
about all the, different things that I had to deal with. And while yes, it was, I mean, I can't even tell, like, some of the stuff was just ridiculous, honestly, looking back about it. But, since I've built my own thing, I can honestly say I've done nothing that any of those owners did. And that's probably honestly why I'm still able to keep going and I've still continued to share and live out the mission that I have today with more and more
Well,
people.
Well, that's truly amazing because I read somewhere on Reddit, this guy, he said he sent a text at work and the next day he was fired. Okay. So you can't do anything nowadays. It's just like you're walking on eggshell when you're in these organizations because you have no protections any longer. And whatever you say is used against you and they can fire you for any reason whatsoever.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
An advocate for spirit says, I understand what you went through. I was hospitalized 3 times from C. diff and lost 61 pounds. Um, and what else? I can't see the other part. I can't see the others. And had been bed rest for 2 years. Wow. That's something. These organizations don't care nothing about none of us. If you drop dead at your desk, you fall on the floor, they're going to walk over you. And like, here's this empty seat. You can sit here.
Yep. Yep. And, I will honestly say this, like, so one specific startup company was kind of a health-oriented startup, and I can tell you firsthand, they did not keep health top of mind whatsoever. Like, none of the, you know, none of the organizations I've ever been a part of ever kept health top of mind. And, you know, I I just after my, like I said, literally life-altering experience where I nearly died from overworking. Um, I don't know how you cannot, as a leader, not think about your employees' health or your contractors' health. And so, like I said, I've now made it my mission. where my goal is to keep myself healthy and fit, and I want to do that with other career-driven people along with other business owners. And I do want to share that after that really bad experience, I've since gone on and I've now finished 9 marathons and 3 ultra marathons. Um, and so now I do a variety of fitness coaching within my businesses, but I also tie everything back to mindset because um, while you are, learning a new Pilates exercise that may be challenging, or there has to be a certain amount of focus that you put into and bring to each workout session in order to keep you consistent. And, even if you show up and you're feeling terrible, I can't tell you how many times I've seen it where people have walked away feeling so much better mentally and physically. And so that's where, again, I think pairing the mindset piece with the workout piece is very helpful, especially those that are very career driven, or even if you're a business owner. So, yeah.
I couldn't agree more, because when you move your body, okay, it lifts your spirit, it lifts your mood, the endorphins, you activating your metabolism, you're burning calories during the day, and your mindset and everything is in alignment. Okay, so how can you not succeed?
Exactly. Exactly. So, yeah.
But I'm
Go
sorry,
ahead.
but as we know, the hardest part is getting started. That's the very
Yes.
hardest part.
The hardest part can be getting started. And I also want to say, I think a lot of times people tend to not want to think that they need to ask for help when it comes to their health journey or even a fitness journey. Um, and also, too, I do want to add that I think that people that come from, working an 8 to 5, 9 to 5 job, they are not used to making investments towards their health or their well-being as much as people that are in the entrepreneurial space. Now, there's nothing wrong with that, but that's just what I've kind of encountered along my journey. So, yeah.
You're right, because I was one of those individuals. And the thing is, when you're young, you have a lot of energy and stamina and all of these things, and you feel like, oh, I'm good. But then as you start getting older, your body start breaking down. Then you start like, oh, maybe I should have done things a little bit differently. Okay.
Yeah.
And that's when, you have to really, really step it up. Okay. Because as we know, as far as insurance nowadays, I talk to some people, they have money. They don't have insurance. They don't need it because they got money. Okay. And then, like people like me that worked for the federal government for 39 years, I have Blue Cross, but I can't go to the dentist. Okay. I have to pay out of pocket for that. And then, okay, I got to go to the radiology appointment, for a mammogram. And they called me about it. And I was like, no, I'm not coming. Forget it. Because then the deductible for that is $500. Okay. Then my dog, I was out walking him one day and I fell. Okay. I both of my elbows and my knee was scraped up, and I still have numbness in my hand. Okay. And I went to the chiropractor, and he said, Margaret, you probably tore a rotary cuff. He said, you got to go have an MRI for that. I was like, you know what the deductible is for that? I was like, never mind. I'll suffer with it. I still have numbness in these two fingers, okay? So that MRI is probably going to want $1,000 from me, okay? And I'm like, no, I can't afford that. So what we have to do, we have to maintain the body, okay? The body is the temple. If you want the body to support you, we have to do all the necessary things to sustain it. Food, okay? Exercise, okay? Meditation, all the things that will preserve our body, because our body is breaking down because it's genetics, right? We're getting older. So we have to take all these things in consideration, right?
Yes, 100%. 100%. And I do also want to add that it doesn't matter if you're 35, you're 50, you're 60, there's always a great time to start. your journey, and that is today. Not tomorrow, not 5 weeks from now, but today.
Absolutely. What can you do today that can make a difference? They have so many different tools out there now. Like I like the what you call these things? Okay, this here. All right. This is the crossroad. Okay. This is the what you call it? The where you can use it and
Oh,
to
yeah.
do with your arms and everything. So you don't have to have this jump rope. And so you can do it in the house,
Yep.
or you don't even have to use that. You can just use your body, some resistance. You can use a wall. You can use a lot of different things, bands. There's
Mhm.
a lot of things we can do. Okay. We're not
Yep.
limited in any way or form. Squats. Okay. Now I want to go work out.
Awesome. Awesome. That's
Okay.
what I wanna hear. That's what I wanna hear.
Absolutely. So when we look at these rock bottom things, sometimes we have to reach that point in order to sit down and figure out, okay, where do I go from here? Okay, this didn't work. This didn't work. And this didn't work. What didn't I try? You know?
Yes.
And that's what you have to look at. Process of elimination and then figure out, okay, what's my next step? It can be very small. It don't have to be anything big, right?
Exactly, 100%. And maybe it starts with, you need to be getting more than 5 hours of sleep at night. Maybe if you've been averaging 5, let's try to up it to maybe 6.5 hours and see how much better you're feeling.
When you talk about that, how many hours of sleep do you recommend that a person get?
Varies person to person, but I generally suggest between 6 to 8 hours. Some
Okay.
some people do better on 6, some people do better on 8. I've always been one where, like, I don't know, 6.5 hours is about perfect for me. If I tend to sleep over that, I feel kind of groggy. So that's just kind of my operating style. I also want to add that I think that if you're not, like, calming down your mind at night before you're sleeping, that is also a major issue of why people are not sleeping well. Good sleep hygiene, that's kind of the new in trend. So, like, think about how you can better get yourself to relax before you're going to bed at night. That can be super helpful because then you're gonna actually wake up feeling relaxed and like you actually slept instead of being like, "Oh, well, my watch says I slept 7 hours, but I don't feel like I slept 7 hours."
Well, one of the things I was taught that you can drink warm milk, okay, and that'll help you to sleep, or you can drink some chamomile tea, okay. Some people say you can do meditation before sleep.
Yep.
Um, what is your thoughts on exercising before sleep?
I think if you're doing like a light exercise, like a walk, an evening walk or something, I think that's fine. I wouldn't do anything where you're getting your heart rate really up high because that's gonna like keep your mind more awake. Um, but like a gentle walk, some gentle yoga poses, that's fine. I really try to tell people, I mean, I'm sure most have heard this, but there's no need to be scrolling for like hours and hours on your phone before you're going to bed. Like, that's just a great way to find a lot of negativity and to have negativity. Why would you want a lot of negativity in your head before you're going to sleep? Like, to me, that, I don't know. I guess I'm just built different. But like, to me, that just doesn't make sense. So I don't tend to do that. Um, but yeah, so I want to say that, having a quality sleep routine can be like a fantastic starting point for most people. And I do also want to add, because a lot of people tend to say this, but I think this is in a good way. Like, I may come across as kind of like having this military style of discipline. I've heard this before, but I do want to say that it's really served me well. And like I said, I've been fairly successful to this point. I've finished 9 marathons, 3 ultra marathons, and I've been able to keep my business going, which is really cool. So yeah. And I think a lot of people don't, you know, um, maybe don't have the self-discipline, which it can be learned over time, but I think a lot of people don't have the self-discipline to, like, hey, I'm not going to eat more cake, or like, hey, I'm going to bed at 10 so that I can wake up at 5 feeling refreshed. Um, you know, so it all comes back to making good choices ultimately, and think about things that serve you today. They're going to serve you tomorrow. And how is what I'm doing today going to help me maybe a week from now or even a month from now? Um, and again, I just always have to be planning. That's kind of always been my thing in life. So I've gotten very good at that, as I'm sure you can probably tell. But for those of us that maybe aren't that far along, you can just think about, okay, if I make this choice today, how will this make me feel tomorrow? Um, and it can be as simple as that.
Yeah, keep it simple, and that's very important, and it takes discipline and perseverance.
Yes.
And the military mindset is very important. Okay, I couldn't have gotten where I am today without that. It's very strict, very stringent, and it's very straight to the point. But you reach your goal. Okay, and
Yes.
it takes baby steps. Okay, and and what you're talking about is a lifestyle. Okay, and it takes. It's not easy at all. It's not easy because, as we know, you had a chaotic world going on out there, and something happened. The first thing you're gonna want to pick up is that piece of cake or that piece of fried chicken. Okay, because that's the first response is to react. It's like comfort food. You want some comfort right away. It's instant gratification. Okay, but the long term effect of it over time is what we don't say. We're like, oh, I'll eat it today. It's not gonna make a difference. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
But then it's like a alcoholic. I'm just use that for example. You'll say, I just have this one drink. Then fell off the wagon. Then you got to start all over because it's not just the drink. It starts here. Okay,
Yep.
so uh, that's why they have this AA. All of these programs are based on that whole. There's one thing. They're all attached to the same thing. So it's very hard. So you have to have if you have a network, it's better when you're working out. If you have a workout partner, even if they're in another state or whatever, hey, I'm going to work out. Let's work out together. You know what I'm saying? You can do things now together, like on Zoom or whatever. You don't have to work out alone. So that makes it easier when you have a workout partner. Wouldn't
Oh,
you agree?
exactly. Well, yeah, and I just want to add that, like, with a lot of the clients today, I'm either writing up writing a custom training plan for them to do on their own, or B, I also typically meet with clients once a week, at least face to face, one time a week. And that really, really helps people stay accountable. I think that a lot of people have good intentions. I'll just share this recent client example. I'm not going to say the exact name, but I'll just share this story. So I had a client, they came to me all gung ho. They're like, "Oh, I heard really good things about you, like, and I know you're going to help me run a fast half marathon." But they're telling me, actually, I haven't done any workouts for like 2 years now. And they're like, I'm going to try to run this half marathon in 5 weeks. What do you think?" And I'm like,
Mm.
I'm not going to like totally knock this down, but I do want to say this. I said, I don't think you're gonna run a fast half marathon time in 5 weeks, and you've been doing no structured workouts for 2 years. No, sorry. But I said, "How about this?" I said, "Why don't you look at the calendar and try to find a race within, say, 12 to 16 weeks from now, and I'll help you with a plan. Well, I'll put a plan together for you within that given time frame." Um, because I said, "You're literally going from being completely sedentary to all of a sudden thinking that you're gonna run 13 miles fast." I said, "In my experience, I've seen very, very few people that do that." And I said, "Ultimately, the goal, well, in addition, yes, I know you wanna run and finish the half marathon. You have to get to that starting line healthy, and not injured. And I said, if you're, pushing yourself as hard as you can, there's a high risk for injury. And so I said, if you pick the 16-week or even further timeline, further out timeline than 16 weeks, I said, you have a much better chance of showing up to the start line injury-free. And also, you're probably going to be much more fit and able to actually run pretty fast compared to if you just all of a sudden try to cram everything, all your training and everything in within the first original time frame of 5 weeks. So again, I think that people get really gung-ho, which is great, but then they don't realize, like, this has to be something they're doing week after week, not just a one-time thing. And so that's where finding someone, again, that is very, leadership driven, very disciplined, and also kind of, walks the walk, in a similar, maybe not doing the exact same thing you are, but a similar thing, that can be really, really beneficial and also helpful, because at the end of the day, a lot of people need help with the accountability piece.
Yes, that's key. The advocate says, me too. I was in the last graduation class at WAX. Personal discipline is very important. And also you have to be realistic. And yeah, that's true. We know as coaches, we have to meet people where they are.
Exactly.
Okay. And go from there. And sometimes people's, what they want is not necessarily realistic, as you showed in that example. And you have to keep it real with the client. Okay. We can take you on. Okay. But if you don't do the work, it's nothing you or I can do for them.
Yes. Exactly.
We have to tell them that up front.
How do I want to say this? Even if you're an experienced coach, experienced leader, you cannot want it. You might want it more than the client does, and you have to realize that. And you have to tell the client, hey, I can only help you so far. If you're not actually doing the steps, doing the daily habits that are going to get you to this goal, I can only send you an email once a day. I can only help you so far, right? And I think, while it can be challenging and you might think of it as kind of a defeating thing, it's actually not, because you're actually putting the power into the client's hands, which is ultimately giving them some empowerment and realizing that, hey, it's time to light the fire under my butt and let's get going. Hopefully, right? Hopefully.
Yeah. And the thing is, if they don't take action, okay, then it's a waste of your time, their time, and their money. And I'm not for that. Okay. At all.
No.
I'm like, you're going to have to do what you need to do, or you're going to have to find yourself another coach.
Exactly. 100%. So again, I just want to say, well, yes, don't get me wrong. I'm very, you can probably tell this, but pretty motivating and stuff like that. But there have been situations where, like I said, and I'm sure you've encountered this as well, Margaret, where you're realizing, oh, hey, I think I am more passionate about what this client wants to do compared to the client. And the client is not, whether they're not showing up, like I mentioned, they're not actually doing the steps that you recommended as far as, following good habits, following your recommendations. And so ultimately there comes a point where you can only help them so much, unfortunately. But I think if you're a good leader, you can recognize that. And I think a lot of people maybe aren't willing to say that, hey, I've helped you out as much as I can. Unfortunately, I think it's time you find someone else to help you, right?
Absolutely. And you know what? The thing is, I have a conversation with everybody up front before I coach you, before I take you on as a client, period. Okay. And also, even if I'm doing a live with you, I'm going to meet up with you up front to make sure our energy is in alignment and we have good chemistry. If we don't, I'm not doing it. Okay.
Sure.
So the thing is, if you sense at that initial conversation that this person is not serious, I'll tell them, I think you need to find another coach. I'm not going to waste my time. Okay. Because you invest in your time and your energy in this person and you want to see them do well and they're not doing it. No, that is against my values.
Sure.
If first of all, if we don't have our values aren't in alignment, we can't work together, period. Because that's going to be a conflict. And that
For sure.
the conflict is they don't need and I don't need and I don't want. Right?
Yes. Yes. Very much so. So, yeah.
Absolutely. Yes.
Well,
So
this has been awesome, Margaret.
yeah, thank you so much, Gail, because I can talk forever. And so let's talk. Did we talk about the healing? How this helps with the healing? Okay. Um, Going from rock bottom to helping others.
So, I do want to mention that, like, when I kind of, got myself well again, if you will, healthy and well, like, during that time when I was working so much, like, I was not even working out. Like, I'll be honest, like, I lost a ton of weight, but I think it was just, like, from being so stressed out. So I have to admit, I did not look very good. Um, and so during my, like, kind of rehab back, like, I got back to lifting weights, which I actually really enjoy lifting weights. I got back to running, and that's kind of what led me to continuing to, you know, run long distances, if you will. Um, Now, like I mentioned, I've been pretty, like, sports oriented my whole I grew up playing lots of sports, like, always been active, but that terrible, again, rock bottom experience, like, literally put everything to a halt. And so I do want to mention that, on your healing journey, I recommend starting out at least with maybe lower impact activities, whether that's Pilates, yoga, just basic stretching on a daily basis, starting out with walking. And then eventually over time, you can get yourself doing more intense activities. Get back to lifting weights, doing more challenging kettlebell workouts if you want a really big challenge. Maybe you decide you even want to try to, run or even hike a long distance that you've never done before. So I always encourage people to start at a very um, manageable, doable workload as far as their, workout routine goes, and then slowly progress them over time. And that's where a certified and experienced coach like myself can be very, very beneficial because we are going to go at a slow progression, not all of a sudden take you from 0 to 70 in 2 weeks. So, yeah. So, really try to focus on keeping it low intensity, even like the first month of your workout routine, and then slowly, gradually, every few weeks, you can kind of, again, progress the intensity over time. That's my recommendation. So, yeah.
Awesome. Do anybody have any questions for Bethany at all? And
Yeah.
so she said, Kyra says slow progression is so important. That is true. Baby steps. Would you say that even if you only worked out 5 or 10 minutes a day, that's better than nothing?
Oh, 100%. 100%. Yeah. Even just taking a walk, say on your lunch break over, if you're working still a 9 to 5, that's even something. So don't discount that. So yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you so much. Do you have any closing remarks or
Um
suggestions or
I just wanted
recommendations?
to I just wanted to say that if anyone here is interested in connecting with me more, you can find me at Bethany Tapp here on Substack. I do offer, or I do tend to put out a weekly Training Tales update publication. And then I also tend to write one other post a week that is more sharing about my mission in my business and that sort of thing. And I do want to mention tomorrow I'm actually sending out a really, really cool training update. So you don't want to miss that. Again, Training Tales update is my weekly kind of training publication that I do right here on Substack. So, and thanks to all of you that joined today. Hopefully you found this beneficial, and remember, no job is ever worth losing your health over.
I know that's right, because my job was killing me and I walked away, and I have never been happier or healthier. Okay?
Awesome. Awesome.
Thank you so much, Bethany. And thank you all for joining us, and enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you.
All right. Bye-bye. Bye. Thank you.